Hi, my name is David Zunker, and I'm doing this video because I am presenting a class in Qabalistic Ceremonial Magic, also known as Western Hermetics and or High Magic, and Hermetics, Qabalistic Ceremonial Magic is essentially a spiritual practice. So if you're going to take a class or a course in that, um, I would think you might want to know my background a little bit and my approach. So I'm going to do a little story of moi about how I got into it and a little bit about what it means to me. So if any of this resonates with you, you may be more inclined to take the course from me, and or if it doesn't, conversely, you may decide this isn't the guy I want to learn from. So my involvement in Kabbalistic ceremonial magic, specifically, started in 1983. But before that, I had other experiences that kind of brought me to that path. And probably goes back to childhood. I was raised I like to describe it as Catholic light. Um, my mom was Catholic. The kids were raised Catholic, went to church, went to catechism class once a week. Also had a secular schooling. And my dad didn't go to church. He was Lutheran and probably more agnostic. He went with my mom for her sake on like Christmas and Easter, and that was about it. By Catholic light, I mean by the time I was like 13 or so, I wasn't pressured to go to church so much anymore. It was like, well, do you want to come? And if not, I got to stay home and watch football with Dad on Sunday instead of going to church. So, being raised Catholic, certainly by the time you're getting ready for confirmation, which is, of course, people understand the term baptism. Baptism happens in Catholicism when you're an infant. And then there's another ceremony when you're supposed to be, quote unquote, coming of age at, I think it would have been around 11 years old or so, 12, when you become confirmed. And I sort of recall that it was explained to me that being confirmed means you become a warrior for the church. Oh my God. I had a funny experience when I was being confirmed. I had like very near fainting spell when I was waiting in the lineup. There's all these kids dressed up in their black and white kind of in the suit pants, and waiting for the bishop to come and put some oil on your head and say the blessing to confirm you. I'm there with my family, of course, is there, and it's this is where you get the Catholic term, the Godfather. Godparent stands up for you when you become confirmed, and it was my eldest brother, Bill, and but I felt so queasy, not stomach upset, but I was going to faint. I could really tell. I was kind of blacking out standing there, and I had to go out in the hallway and sit in a chair and put my head between my knees until I kind of got consciousness and composed myself enough to kind of get hustled back in for the oil from the bishop and then kind of back out again. I always thought that was interesting. And so there's something in me that did not want to be confirmed, but went through with it on that level anyway. And also when I was a youth, I kind of would kind of argue with the priest or the brother, whoever was doing the catechism class at the time. And I did really take to the idea of the guardian angel. I remember being a little kid and kind of moving over in my little bed, single bed, to so I figured my guardian angel must need to lie down. He's been kind of hanging out with me all the time. Let me move over so he can rest there. But I think what really kind of started me on a kind of specifically more spiritual path was when I was 15, and I read about the Beatles hanging out in India with the Maharishi, and I read about that, and I think it was a Time magazine article, and oh well, that's cool, I thought. So I thought, well, I'm going to try meditating, and I really didn't properly do that type of. All I did is try to just kind of stop thinking, and I tried meditating alone in my room and in the dark, and it worked so well. I mean, I ended up having these visualization experiences and senses of movement. I was basically launched my inner vision across galaxies and saw this great vortex of stars kind of funneling in and joined into this great vortex of stars. So after that, I kind of pursued it a little bit, read some material about meditation, and that led to started studying astrology at 17. I guess my mom took a little kind of course at the community center with a couple lady friends for something to kind of do, I guess, and I guess she liked it, but she didn't pursue it, and she gave me the study material that she got from taking the course, and I was 17. I just kind of took off on that, started to pursue astrology. Was reading the Seth material, was reading U.S. Anderson, was reading Plato, was kind of investigating spirituality on that level, because I certainly was kind of turned off by Catholicism, especially when you're meditating on the torturing of Jesus is what you're supposed to be meditating on. I don't know about that. That's alarming. So that led to being a young adult and doing pursuing astrology, pursuing tarot. I heard about tarot and started pursuing that when I was in my early 20s. Then kind of just sort of magical kind of thinking and kind of more reading, and when I had developed kind of some, I thought I was learning pretty well how to use tarot. Had some intuition with clients and people I was reading for that really kind of surprised everybody, including myself. And then when I was going to school and going to college, and I saw this a little office in an apartment building, and someone was doing tarot readings. So I thought, hey, I'm going to go get a tarot reading from somebody else for a change. And I met one of my, later became a friend, but this fellow that is part of the reading, he was explaining, it was a very good reading, by the way. I mean, and it's kind of how I like to do my readings, is he was describing situations and like, what do you want to drive this big van for, and blah blah blah. Well, it turns out a few months later I was driving a big van sometimes for the work I was doing. So he came up with some very specific kind of things that happen. Another thing that he did was he mentioned to me, well, tarot is really based on the Kabbalah, he said. If you look into it, might want to look into that in your studies, he said. So a few months later, I got a cat issue here. No, Casey, no. Hopefully he doesn't jump right into the video because he's known to be disruptive. I was in a famous new age kind of spiritual bookstore in Vancouver called Banyan Books, and they had a little corkboard, and there was a notice on this corkboard, Qabalistic Ceremonial Magic Study Group, phone Phyllis, with the phone numbers to tear off at the bottom. Well, I did pursue that, and I met Phyllis, and this would have been 1983. And it turns out I was the only one that pursued that or that got in touch with her about that. She had another friend that she was working with sometimes. So Phyllis, at that time, here I am, 80s. I'm approaching 30 years old. And Phyllis was... She never did tell me how old she was, but it seemed she was probably in her 60s, early 60s, mid 60s at the time. And Phyllis had been involved in the Vancouver Theosophy Society and in the Servants of the Light group, and was where she got her direct instruction in ceremonial magic. So I began working with Phyllis once a week, then it was twice a week because I couldn't get enough. And she taught me how to do Qabalistic ceremonial magic in very much the Servants of the Light manner, a big emphasis on path working, very much drawn from the Golden Dawn. And so we worked together for a couple of years, and she also got me involved in some channeling work that she was doing too. And then I ran into the fellow that had told me about, check out the Kabbalah, and I told him about this, and he joined us with a couple other people. And so we finally had a little group together in Vancouver, and we decided to call it, I believe a woman named Joyce contributed, and Emmett contributed, but we called it Serendipity Celestial College. So Serendipity Celestial College would have probably been established in 1985, and we had developed quite a little scene there. We met some other people doing magic, more kind of Thelemites. We would have groups comes together, study groups, ceremonies, rituals and meditation groups, and then unfortunately Phyllis passed away in probably 1986, and but our little Serendipity Celestial College continued. So there were a few other experiences around learning to use the imagination, creative visualization. One was with past life regressions, another one was with someone several years before I met Phyllis. And so once we got into the Serendipity Celestial College, we continued after Phyllis's passing, and we got into Enochian and the channeling work, and I'm petting this cat down here so that doesn't jump up into the screen and onto the computer. You behave yourself. And that led to, I sort of kind of got a little bit of a break as far as the practice of ceremonial magic and the practice of creating temples and meditations and working with magical energies, both Enochian and Kabbalah. And but then when I got into my 40s, it was kind of did family and kids, and but that's also when I got the Wicca training which I believe would have probably been 1993, when I took a Wicca 101 course from and at a pagan book place in New Westminster. And so in my personal practice, I still do ceremonial magic, but I also do kind of more Wiccan style and kind of spell work, that sort of thing now. And as the decades have gone on, I'm thrilled really to be able to resurrect Serendipity Celestial College as a Qabalistic magic study group. And it's really kind of time for me to pass this technique on, and it is, as I teach it, it is about, there's knowledge involved, there's some learning, some basic knowledge and techniques to set up temple, techniques to meditate, techniques to work with, call in various energies and spiritual intelligences, if you will, how to work with them, but it's not that technical. I don't go into, we're not having to learn a bunch of Hebrew. We're not, we're working with Hebrew, the Hebrew alphabet and Hebrew letters and Hebrew God names and angel names, working with those things. But it's fine to have notepad, or note cards. It's fine to, it's more about teaching the techniques with which you can engage in the practice of ceremonial magic. And of course, as cat hair, what the goal is, as is the Golden Dawn taught, and as Israeli Regardi talks about, what that is it's about gaining the knowledge of and conversation with one's holy guardian angel. And very much so, this is a technique of backing into the tree of life, of being that angel, that your holy guardian angel in this perspective is you. It's your spiritual core, your spiritual part of you. It is this being which is spiritual being, which is expressing itself in you, through you, in this physical life that you have. It is, in other words, it is your higher self, or as Theosophy terms it, your reincarnating monad, or as Seth calls it, your oversoul, that has chosen this incarnation for you, and that's why you're living. So it knows about purpose, it knows about past lives, it knows whatever you really need to know. And that we're all connected, each connected to our own higher self, reincarnating monad, oversoul, holy guardian angel, all the same thing. So what I'm providing people, and what I'm willing to provide any interested parties and sincere seekers, is techniques that work to get you to there, get you into that an awareness, an actual experience, and an awareness and an experience of that inner spiritual connection. So, all right, I'm going to try to check this out, and but that's a little bit about me and a little bit about this class.